list of texts that he has read is very long. If you Google his name, it mentions him as a movie director. So I would also like to mention that here. And without much ado, the main theme of the day is Sri Rama. We will look forward to Sri Dushyant Sridhar to walk us through the path of Sri Rama in Tamil Nadu. May I request you to take dais.
कूजन्तं रामरामेति मधुरं मधुराक्षरम् आरुह्य कविता शाखां वन्दे वाल्मीकि कोकिलं वेदवेद्ये परे पुंसि जाते दशरथात्मजे वेदः प्राचेतसा दासीत् साक्षात् रामायणात्मना. Namaskars to the Astikas who have gathered for this literary festival. I am humbled and honored to the organizers who have invited me on this solemn occasion. Of course, the topic has been dealt in terms of temple, architecture, music, dance by experts in those fields. I have been asked to speak from the literature side of how Tamil Nadu especially has been at the forefront in Sri Rama and Sri Rama Bhakti. Honestly, today, a discussion such as this, be it in a forum or a conclave, or even a casual discussion, will end up with a question, Ramayanam which? Because we believe that there are too many Ramayanams. In a way, yes, it is. But Rama's story is only one. And that has been told to us by Valmiki. So, Valmiki's Ramayanam is Mukhya Pramanam. There is no doubt about that. Of course, Kamban has dealt that with all figures of speech, and Tulsidasa's Ramcharitmanas is extremely beautiful, no doubt. But when it comes to Pramanam, it is Valmiki Ramayanam alone. So when I speak about Valmiki and I speak about Valmiki Ramayanam, how does Tamil Nadu feature? Because the grandest of the commentaries called Bhushanam by Govindaraja belongs to the state of Tamil Nadu for Valmiki Ramayanam. So we have close to 6 commentaries. People do, now we have temporary Twitter and Facebook experts on Shastram. And there is of course a sarvagnya.kora.com. It knows everything. So we trust in Kora and more than what Valmiki has said. But in Sanatana Dharma, which is Hinduism, I know the locality in which I am speaking may attract attention, but it warrants that Sanatana Dharma, which is Hinduism, we believe that along with the Mukhya Pramanam, the Mula Pramanam, the commentaries are equally important. Without the commentaries, it is very tough for us to even decipher certain shlokas. So we have 6 commentaries to the Ramayanam. We have Maheshwara Tirtha's commentary, we have Nagesha Bhatta, we have Trayambaka Makhin, we have Govindaraja, we have Shivasahaya. So these are all the large commentaries, 6 large commentaries that we have. One is based on Dharma, the remaining 5 are extremely grand, and of them, undoubtedly, amidst the group of scholars, Govindaraja's Bhushanam or Govindarajiyam is the best, and to that Valmiki Ramayanam and its grandest commentary, it belongs to the state of Tamil Nadu. I begin there. In Valmiki Ramayanam, in Kishkindha Kandam, there is a mention where Sugriva tells Rama, when Rama is all soaked in melancholy as to where Sita is, He says, I kind of noticed a woman crying for help and throwing away her jewelry. And then he showcases the jewelry to Rama, stating that this is what we could gather from what she threw. These were collected by our Vanara Sainyam, and here I showcase it to you. Rama, that he had been crying for days and months together, and that his eyes were swollen, he wanted to get the confirmation done with Lakshmana, who said, Naham janami keyure, Naham janami kundale, Nupuretva bhijanami, Nityam pada bhivandanat. I neither recognize the ornament that's worn on the arm, neither in the choker that's worn around the neck. I recognize only the anklet, because that is the only way that I could prostrate at the feet of my divine sister-in-law, who is like my mother. Ramam Dasharatham Vidhi, Mam Vidhi, Janakatmajam, Ayodhya Matavim Vidhi, Gachata Tayata Sukam, says Sumitra. So, there is this occasion in Kishkindha Kandam which states that the Vanaras gathered these ornaments, brought them and collated them together and presented to Sugriva, who showcased them to Rama. This portion is taken by a poet in Purananuru, which is one of the earliest Tamil works that we have recorded so far, with a very acclaimed and celebrated historian who's also my friend Chitra Madhavan here. I should not be talking about dates. So, it's always safe to say between 5th century BCE to 2nd century CE. So, somewhere between that. It's one of the oldest works of Purananuru, which is said to have belonged to the last Sangam age. And there are various poets who contribute to making that compendium. In that, one poet says, he says that there was a poet in the locals who is not that celebrated. But one day it happened so that he had Shukra Yoga. In Jatakam, you have Shukra Yoga, right? Shukra Dasha, Shukra Yoga. Jyotishya Shastram is so important to Ramayanam, and Govindaraja explores that completely. He says a person who's born on Navami Tithi, Sesha Bhagaha. A person who's born on the Navami Tithi will always leave a balance. That is why Rama kills Subahu and leaves Maricha as balance. He fights 13,999 demons and leaves Akampana as the balance. So this is the dosham of being born on a Navami Tithi, says Govindaraja. Now coming to the point. So this poet sings beautiful poems in front of the king, and the king gives him some jewelry. And this poet goes and showcases this jewelry that he has received as a gift, now as a possession, to his family members. His family members who have been living in the heights of destitution and poverty are unaware which jewelry should be put where. So they start putting the vanki somewhere on the head, the choker on the leg. So they start asthana sneha karunyam, they start misplacing jewelry. That time the poet in Purananuru writes, like how the Vanaras were confused as to which jewelry to put where when Sita threw the jewelry, are these. See, even for a simile, you are so soaked in Ramayanam in the state of Tamil Nadu that you end up borrowing from Ramayanam. So that's where Purananuru begins. Silappadigaram, which is often attributed to the author, who is said to have belonged to the Jaina Matam, Jaina. We have a history of Jaina Matam even in Bhagavatam. We begin from Rishabhanatha. And we have Bhagavad Ramanuja, who extremely condemns it. Not that spared Buddhism and Jainism, but they fought it philosophically, not through the sword. So, in Jaina Matam, we have Saptabhangi Vadam and so on. So, this poet is said to have belonged to Jaina Matam. He says in Aichiyar Kuravai, Vadavarayai Mattaki, those of them who do not understand Tamil, the medium of this lecture is in English. But to literally translate every word is going to be seriously impossible. So, it is a beautiful language. I say that with full responsibility. Please learn. So, Vadavarayai Mattaki Vasukiyai Nanaki Kadalvannan Pandurunal Kadalvairu Kalakinaye. Then he says, Muvulagum Iradial Murainiramba Vagai Mudia Tavia Sevadi Seppat Tambiodum Kanpund. Look at the comparison. He says, you know why Rama had to walk in the forest that was infested with thorns and stones? Because he did injustice to Bali. Because he went to Bali's house, Yajnavatika, on the banks of river Narmada. Bali was performing a yagam. Brihaspati Savena, Vajapayam Yajeta is the vakyam. He was doing Vajapayam, Brihaspati Savam. So he, out of great magnanimity, sheer magnanimity, told Vamana, whatever you want, you ask. See, when somebody tells you this, you have to be extremely courteous. He should have just picked 3 measures of land. Instead, he took the entire world. He didn't do justice. The poet says, it's called Nindastuti. He says, in that element of sarcasm, you didn't do justice when you went to the Yajnavatika of Bali and you asked for 3 measures of land. You didn't do justice. Injustice was meted through land. So on the same land, you're doing the prayashchittam where the stones prick you. Moovulagum ஈரடியால் முறை நிரம்பாவகை முடிய தாவிய சேவடி செப்ப தம்பியொடும் காண்போந்து, he says. So Silappadigaram talks about Ramayana. Coming to the Alvars, Tirumalizai Piran, he says, Kondai konda kodai meedu then ulavu kuni kun undai konda ranga votti ul magilnda nadanur. Who is the one who was impressed with letting the hunch go in and come out? Because it seems Rama, in his childhood days, used to take mud balls and attach them to the end of his arrows and shoot at the hunch of Manthara. தோன்றிய கூனியும் துடிக்கும் நெஞ்சினாள் ஊன்றிய வெகுளியாள் உழைக்கும் உள்ளத்தாள் கான்று எரிநயனத்தாள் கதிக்கும் சொல்லினாள் மூன்று உலகினிற்கும் ஓர் இடுக்கண் மூட்டுவாள், says Kamban. Kamban describes Manthara. He says, what is her characteristic feature? Staying in one place, she can keep fights in many houses. மூ உலகினிற்கும் ஓர் இடுக்கண் மூட்டுவாள். That Manthara, she had a hunch. And Tirumalizai Piran, the Alvar says that the mud ball used to go and hit at her hunch, and the hunch used to go within her because of that little tingling feeling. And the Lord used to be quite impressed with that hunch going in and coming out. Kondai konda kodai meedu then ulavu kuni kun undai konda ranga votti ulmagilnda nadanur. Periyalvar, he states in Periyalvar Tirumozhi, சித்திரகூடத்திருப்ப சிறுக்காக்கை முலை தீண்ட எத்திசையும் திரிந்தோடி வித்தகனே ராமாவோ நின்னபயம் என்றழைப்ப அத்திரமே அதன் கண்ணை அறுத்ததும் ஓர் அடையாளம். See the conversation, what Periyalvar says. See, roughly historians don't exactly give the date for Alvars. They roughly put them between the 5th and the 8th or the 9th century CE. We don't have an exact date. He was born on this particular date. So I'm talking roughly 750 years before Cambridge was formed. That's our benchmark, right? So, these days when I'm called for lectures, we have speakers who speak before and after. With no offense meant to them, they're all wonderful srishtis. But still, if they're asked to talk about Rama, there's no word like bhakti, murti and all of that. Rama is a momentum. Rama is an energy. Rama is velocity. I doubt if I'm sitting in a physics class. Rama is bhakti personified. Why does it take so much of effort from our side to use our own words and bring in words like mass, momentum, velocity, energy? And I don't know how, and they have no connection with science that way. Okay, let's come back to the topic. Now, see, I'm a person who gives discourses, so I don't stick to the topic. That's the essence of person who does pravachanam. Periyalvar states, these are the identities that Hanuman told Sita. Hanuman, when he meets Sita for the first time in Lanka, she wants to be doubly sure if this is the original messenger, because she didn't ask for this verification from Ravana. So she's now asking, have you come from Rama? How do I believe you? That is when Periyalvar, the foster father of Andal, says, Chittiragudattiruppa Shirukakkai mulai thinda. Mother, do you remember while both you and Rama were housed in the forests of Chitrakuta, there was this kaka, the crow that came and pecked at your bosom, that blood oozed, and then Rama took a blade of grass, made that into an Aishikam, which is a Brahmastram, and at the end of it, as a sign of his punishment, took away one of the eyes of the crow. This is what Periyalvar says, what Hanuman told Sita. But those of you who have read the Ramayana will know in Sundarakandam, Hanuman does not tell this to Sita. Sita tells this to Hanuman. So the commentator asks, how could Periyalvar shift this story? Immediately we will have our own jnanis who will say, no sir, this happened in the previous Chaturyuga. वो पहले वाला रामायण था, वो 1.0 था, अभी 2.0 में जो बोल रहे हैं, वैसा नहीं हो सकता है ना. See, that's where my Pracharya, who was Mahamahopadhyay Uttamur Swami, he used to state, look at the verses of Valmiki Ramayanam. When Sita narrates to Hanuman about this Kakasura incident, there are 4 verses which is told in first person. 3 in second person. See, for example, Sita tells Hanuman, Hanuman, you know, when both of us were staying together, this happened. Suddenly she'll say, Rama, I told you, right? Suddenly she'll make the conversation between her and Rama. 3 verses will be between her and Hanuman. So those verses which are between her and Rama was not known to Hanuman. Those which were told to Hanuman directly was known to the world. So what is known to the world can be conveyed by Hanuman to Sita. So Periyalvar shifts that in Periyalvar Tirumozhi. So this is another message which my Acharya has resolved. Andal, such a devotee of Krishna, she explores Krishna everywhere. Shangodu Chakkaram Yendum Tadakkayan Mannu Vadamadurai Maindan Urutti Maganai Pirandu Orirevil Thuya Perunir Yamunai Kadandu Urutti Maganai Volithu Valara Peimulai Nanjundu Kallachakadam Kalakkaliya Kalochi Kundru Kunila Verindane Kundru Kudaya Veduthonai. Every bit of Krishna Avataram is described by Andal, who is referred to Krishna Devaraya as Amukta Malyada. But she tells whom she loves the most. Shinathinal Tennilangai Komanai Chetra Manathu Kiniyan. You know who has impressed my mind and heart? It is the one who killed the king of Lanka. Sinathinal Tennilangai Komanai Chetra Manathu Kiniyan. So Andal speaks about Rama. Tondaradi Podiyalvar, who, you know, Tondaradi Podiyalvar, those of you who have known Tondaradi Podiyalvar, he gave 2 prabandhams. One is called Tirumalai, the other one is it is called Tirupalli Ezhuchi. Those of them who claim to support the Tamil language will find it tough to pronounce. It is Tirupalli Ezhuchi. Now, Tondaradi Podiyalvar was extremely famous to bring about the lesser known Upakhyanams. We have Vishnu Trayam, we have Vishnu Puranam, Vishnu Dharmam and Vishnu Dharmottara Puranam. So these are 3 books. In Vishnu Dharmam, we have one anecdote called Mudgalopakhyanam. It is found only in Vishnu Dharmam. Tondaradi Podiyalvar is the only poet, to my knowledge, whatever I've read in Shastram, who invokes this. Namanum Mudgalanum Pesa, Narage Ninnargal Ketka, Naragame Suvargamagum, Namangal Udaya Nambi. So he tells about the squirrels that performed Kainkaryam to the Ramasetu. Remember, Valmiki does not make a mention about the squirrels. In Setu Bandhanam, there is no mention of the squirrels. There is a Upakhyanam called Setu Bandhana Kavyam by Pravarasena, who belonged to Maharashtra. He gave the Setu Bandhana Kavyam, which has 2,500 verses in Prakritam, how the Setu was constructed. It has been invoked in Kavya Darsha as well. He does not talk about the squirrels either. The only person who makes mention of squirrel is Tondaradi Podiyalvar. He says, Malaigal Nukka Kulithittam Puranditodi Malaigal Utta Silamila Anilum Polen. Like the squirrels that, you know what squirrels did? It's an interesting conversation. The commentator Periyavachan Pillai tells 900 years back. It seems some monkeys were carrying large boulders and rocks and were throwing them into the sea. But between the rocks, you need something to fill the gap. Somebody has to do the masonry work. So the squirrels got together. They used to bathe. They said, monkeys, you don't even have acharam. You're not bathing. See, they used to jump into the oceanic waters with their wet bodies. They used to come and roll their wet bodies on the fine sand of the sea. So their body was filled with sand. They used to go between the rocks and used to shake their body. All the sand used to go between the crevices. So they used to tell the monkeys, the pace at which you're working, it will never get completed. Do fast. So that was the commentary to that particular shloka. So that is why, I don't know why, Anil in Sanskritam or Tamil, service is called Seva, Sevai. Tamil Nadu has this brand, Anil Sevai. I have not taken a single rupee from them. Okay. Tiruppanalvar. Tiruppanalvar, he says, Sadurama Madilshul Ilangai Kiraivan Talai Pattum Udiravoti Vor Venganai Kuittavan Vodavannan. Vedanta Deshika gives an exquisite commentary true to his name, Vedanta Acharya, called Munivahana Bhogam on Tiruppanalvar's Prabandham. He says, this particular Lanka had Mummadil. Whenever the Tamil poets describe Lanka, they will call it the 3-layered fort. Because it has water as a fortress on one side, then there are mountains, and then there is forest. So there are 3 layers that Hanuman and the Vanaras had to cross. So there is a clear mention of Tiruppanalvar in his Prabandham Amalanadipiran. I don't have to talk about Tirumangayalvar because he says, Yezhai Edalan Kilmagan Yennadirangi Mattavar Kinnarul Shurandu Malaiman Madanokki Umbi Embi Endrolindilai. See, when Rama meets Guha, Guha was a childhood friend of Rama. He belonged to the Nishada Jati. So he was a boatsman and a hunter man. So he meets Guha for the first time and he has to introduce Sita. So what should he do? Sita, this is my good friend Guha. From today onwards, make friends with him or accept his friend request or whatever. This should be the conversation. But Alvar says, Umbi Embi Endrolindilai. Rama did not make a conversation like that. He said, Sita, this is Guha, a very nice man, learned man, very benevolent. He's your friend. So he's my friend. Umbi Embi. Point is, till now I might have known him. You have seen us now. Only if you accept him as your friend, I will accept him as my friend. Umbi Embi Endrolindilai, says Tirumangayalvar. So, you have a list of Sri Vaishnava saints, the Alvars who have described Ramayanam head to toe. There is one work called Pasurappadi Ramayanam. Periyavachan Pillai has taken verses from the 4,000 esoteric verses of the mystic saints called the Alvars and strung the entire Ramayanam together. Thirumadandai, Manmadandai, Irubalum, Tigada, Nalavandamillador, Nattil, Perinbattu, Adiyarod, Tanikol Sella, Vitturukkum, Ayarvarum, Amarargal, Adipadiana, Aniyar, Polilshul, Aranganagarapan, Alainir, Kadalullalundum, Navaipol, Avarar, Tunayendru, Tulangum, Nallamarar, Tuyatira, Vallarakar, Valvai, Palpadukkavenni, Kallai, Pennaki, Valal, Chilayarth, Maidiriye, Manampunandi, Irubatturukar. It just goes on. It goes on. Now, the moment I have a Tripundram and I speak about the Alvars, some Paramagyani commentator will write, see, he is a fanatic. He doesn't talk about the Nayanmars. There are close to 700 verses from the Tirumurais where the Nayanmars make mention of Rama and the Ramayana. Ramayana does not belong to one sect. It belongs to Dharma. And even people who hated Rama finally had to live with that name for quite some time. Arunagirinatha, the celebrated devotee to Kartikeya, Muruga, because Muruga is celebrated in the Tamil land. But trust me, the mention of Kumara Sambhavam, the Shabdam occurs in Balakandam of Ramayanam. Rama listens to Kumara Sambhavam. 9 different anecdotes Rama listens. Vedanta Deshika says, Kushika Sutta Katitha Vidita Nava Vividha Kata. 9 anecdotes Rama listens. In Balakandam, he listens to Sharavana. Sharam is a reed. Wherever you have the reeds of Shara, it is called Sharavana. Because he slid from the amniotic sac of Ganga, that's Kannam Karoti, it is Kandaha. That Skanda becomes Kanda in Tamil. He's called Guha. So, the essence of Kartikeya Charitram comes in Valmiki Ramayanam. Arunagirinatha, when he celebrates Rama's greatness in Tiruppugal, the first Tiruppugal, Muttai Tarabatti Tirunagai Attikira Shakti Charavana, Muttikkuruvittukkuruvarayana Vodum, Mukkatparamarkuchurudin, Murpattadu Karpittiruvaru, Muppattu Muvarkattamararum Adipena, Pattittalavattakkanadoru, Votchaikirematte Puruduru, Pattapadavattatigiri, Iravaga, he mentions of Rama, he calls him Pachai the personification of flawless beauty who shines like the emerald that's cut from a mountain. So Arunagirinatha gives a very beautiful description. He goes very close to what Vedanta Deshika says, Namastasmai Kasmai Chana. He says, when Rama walked by Mithilopavanam is the outskirts of Mithila where the ashram of Shatananda and Gautama was. So there was this lady who was deemed to be a stone because there is no word of stone in Valmiki Ramayanam. She looked like a piece of stone called Ahalya. And Rama was going to Mithila to marry Sita. And what was the CV? Empty. What was the achievement of Rama? He listens to his parents. Who will give their daughter in marriage? Maapla yarna appa amma pecha keparna kudupalo. Neengale vechukunga. Adanaala what was the achievement of Rama? Vishwamitra had this Herculean arduous task to fill his CV. So while he walked past the hermitage of Shatananda and Gautama, it seems Rama's feet touched Ahalya, and that was more than enough for Sita to marry. Why? Because she wanted to marry somebody who's pure gold. And Rama's feet, whenever they are described by the Acharyas, it is compared to lotus. Kararavindena padaravindam. But Arunagirinatha says the feet of Rama was akin to that of gold. Why? Because to test the purity of gold, you have to rub it against a stone. His feet touched the stone and she proved right. So, the one who proved Rama was gold was Ahalya, so she got married to Rama. This is what Arunagirinatha says. So, there is a plethora, there is a melange of poets in the Tamil tradition who have added such color. I started with Valmiki Ramayanam, celebrated commentary in Sanskritam called Bhushanam by Govindaraja. Then I arrived at Alvars. I went to Silappadigaram and Purananuru. The Vagayakaras, the musicians of this land, how much beauty they have added. I bring Kamban in that because I don't call him a poet. He's a musical poet. இவ்வண்ணம் நிகழ்ந்தவண்ணம் இனி இந்த உலகுக்கெல்லாம் உய்வண்ண மந்திமற்றோர் துயர்வண்ணம் உருவதுண்டோ மைவண்ணத் தரக்கி போரில் மழை வண்ணத்து அண்ணலே உன் கைவண்ணம் அங்கு கண்டேன் கால் வண்ணம் இங்கு கண்டேன். When people of this world are accustomed to punishing the other person with the foot and embracing through their hands, you have done the opposite, Rama. You have killed Tataka with your hands and embraced Ahalya with your foot. What great achievement you have done. கைவண்ணம் அங்கு கண்டேன் கால் வண்ணம் இங்கு கண்டேன். When Hanuman returns from Lanka and meets Rama, he says, Rama, you know, I saw the lady who gave back the intrinsic characteristic feature of my kulam back to me. I belong to Vanara kulam. A Vanara is supposed to be indecisive, whether to talk or not to talk, whether to come or not to come. Indecisiveness is the feature of a Vanara. Till I met Rama, I was indecisive. Till I met you, Rama, I was indecisive. I did not know who is the one who is to be venerated and paid obeisances to. The moment I saw you, Rama, I thought you are the one. Idam ekam sunishpannam. I was clear, undoubtedly, nissandeham, that I have to propitiate to you. But you know, after meeting Sita, I have changed my decision. I'll propitiate to her. So I have become indecisive again. So who has given me this indecisiveness back? It is Sita. என் குலம் என்னதாக்கி உயர்ப்புகழ்க்கு ஒருத்தியாய தன்குலம் தன்னதாக்கி தன்னை இத்தனிமை செய்தான் வன்குலம் கூற்றுக்கு ஈந்து வானவர் குலத்தை வாழ்வித்து என் குலம் எனக்கு தந்தாள் என்னினி செய்வது எம்மோய், says Kamban. 10,348 verses. The earliest known Ramayana version, a transcreation in a Bharatiya language besides Sanskritam, is Kamba Ramayana. Of course, there was something before that, Kakavin Ramayanam of the Javanese, but that's outside the land. So Kamban has presented Tyagaraja, the Telugu poet who lived by the banks of Panchanadi Kshetram, whom we think we can venerate by just adorning ourselves with lungi today, says he brings the tradition. He is a Telugu person who settled for generations in the Tamil land. He does not want to give up his tradition of the Telugu marriage where there is a curtain drawn between the boy and the girl. Marugu, Telugu bhashalo, Marugu ante madhyallo unna yavanika. Between the boy and the girl, Marugu ante madhyallo unna yavanika. Curtain ki Marugu anta peru. So it is as if Sita asks Rama, see, I want to see you. Why is the screen between us? Marugu ఏలరావో రాఘవ. మరుగు ఏలరా, అది ఒక విచ్ఛేదం చేస్తున్నారంటే అది మరుగు ఏలరా, ఒకటి అంటే మరుగేలరా. మరుగేలరా. Of course, I keep asking sorry to all the people who speak Telugu that we are butchering their lyrics. But anyways, we at least sing. So, Marugu Yelara, after Tyagaraja, O Raghava, Marugela Chara Chara Rupa. Every kriti of Tyagaraja, he says, Oka Kirtanalu, Bantu ante, the royal guard, whoever is the chamberlain who protects the apartment is called Bantu. Telugu bhashalo Bantu. It's not Pantu, it's a Bantu. So Tyagaraja says, give me the position of being the chamberlain to your apartment. Bantu riti koluvu viyavaiya Rama. Then Rama will ask him in return, right? What are your qualifications to be my Bantu? Tyagaraja says, as the chamberlain, whenever I listen to your Ramayanam, Rama, I get goosebumps. Romanchamane ghana kanchukamu. Tarvata, next. I have a tattoo. What is that tattoo? Rama Bhakta, Rama Bhaktudanu Mudrabillayu. What other qualification do you have? I have a weapon. Oh my goodness, somebody in Bombay had a weapon and had to go to the jail. What weapon are you having? Rama nama mane varakhagami virajillu naiya Tyagaraju nike banturite koluvu. How are the lyrics and the devotion of my Tyagaraja anyway less than any other poet? So Tyagaraja celebrates him. Every kriti. Even if he has to sing about Krishna, there will be Rama. Sadhin Chennai is about Krishna. That Pancharatna Madhyalo unna kriti, it is completely about Krishna, but there is one Rama there. Hare Ramachandra Raghukulesha Mrudu Subhaja Sesha Shayana Paranari Sodar Raja. Rama will come there. Muttuswami Dikshitar. Rama Vibhakti Kirtana. Basic Sanskritam we know. Ram, of Ram, by Ram, for Ram. Ramaha, Ramasya, Ramayo, Ramena. For every Vibhakti he has written a Kirtana. Shri Ramachandro Rakshatu Mam. Prathama Vibhakti. Ramachandram Bhavayami Raghukula Ramachandram. So it becomes the object. Dvitiya Vibhakti. Ramachandrasya dasoham Shri Sita Nayakasya Guru Guha Hitasya Ramachandrena Ramachandrasya Ramakali. 9 kritis. Then he writes independent ones. Kshitija Ramanam Chintaye. In Devagandhari there is one Kokilam. The amount that they have spent on Rama Bhakti is priceless. What do I speak of Sadashiva Brahmendra, one of the greatest scholars in Advaita? Pibare Ramarasam Rasane. Remember, everything I'm saying is coming from this land, this part of the country. Pibare Ramarasam Rasane. Pibare Ramarasam. One another composer who was pre-Tyagaraja, pre-Trimurtis, who lived in a hamlet. I don't even know the GPS even recognizes the proper route. It's called Uttukkadu. Venkatakavi says, Mallikadi Sugandhamaya Navamalikadi Shobhita Galena Ullasa Parishichamara Ubhaya Pashvena Kundala Kelana Kalyana Rama. Uttukkadu Kavi says. Arunachala Kavi, one amongst the 3 Tamil Trinity, Muttutandavar, Marimutta Pillai and Arunachala Kavi. Arunachala Kavi has written an exclusive Gaya Natakam called Ramanatakam. He says how Sita was. When Hanuman met Sita and then came back to Rama stating that I've seen Sita, Rama goes into the details to understanding how she was in treatment, what treatment was meted to Ravana. Panikala vari jampola nirankusi pagalbor Yugamaga Karitale Prayasi Ninaitange Ravana non var Chi Nillada Yendre Yesi Tanitu Tan Uir Tanai Tan Vida Magarasi Sarun Pode Karnum Samayami Devasi Initamadam Sayal Agarendidar Pesi Rama Endredir Peshi Kanden Sita. How can you even end up explaining this lyrics? What bhavartham and bhakti that person had? Of course, it's a very sad part that we have one small set of musicians who get into the concept of saying that there is no need for bhakti. I have to leave it to their own, because in Sanatana Dharma we also believe karma is an integral part. And my acharyas have never told me to be abusive. I know how to give it back with elegance. So, bhakti was central to Shastriya Sangeetam. There is no question of whether it is a part or not. There was an acharya of the Kanchi Peetham called Bhagavannama Bodhindral. He gave Ramakarnamritam, Kalyananam, Nidhanam, Kalimathamathanam, Pavanam, Pavananam. It is said you go to Govindapuram, you can even listen to the Ramanamam while you are being on that Adhishtanam. I have to talk about my hero, the person whom I love, Vedanta Deshika. He's a polymath, a polyglot, a dietitian, a mathematician, a philosopher, a dramatist, what not he was. That one personality. His Raghuvira Gadyam, one is enough to celebrate the essence of Ramayanam. He uses the toughest of the words in Sanskritam, puts them into prose. Remember, any person who is an acharya will never attempt prose, because prose can never be remembered. It is only poetry which can be remembered. Betty Botta bought some butter. See, we remember so well. Isn't that an essential component of our Vedanta Shastram? And the twinkle? Complete, come on. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, and that person who sat on the wall and fell, what's his name? See, everything is poetry. Vedanta Deshika goes the other way. He thought Robert Frost said, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveler longer I stood and looked down one as far as I could. He took the other way. He said, I'll take up to prose. Jaya Jaya Mahavira Mahadhira. When you recite Raghuvira Gadyam, you have to make sure the person who's sitting or standing opposite you is 10 feet away. Amrita Varshini. Jaya Jaya Mahavira Mahadhira Dhaureya Devasura Samara Samaya Samudita Nikhila Nirjara Nirdharita Niravadhika Mahatmya Dashavadana Damita Daivata Parishada Bhyathita Dasharati Bhava Dinakara Kulakamala Divakara Divishadhipati Rana Sahacharana Chatura Dasharata Charamaruna Vimochana Kosala Suta Kumara Bhava Kanchukita Karanakara Kaumara Keli Gopayita Kaushikadhvara Ranadhvara Dhurya Bhavya Divyastra Brinda Vandita Pranata Jana Vimata Vimatana Dullalita Dollalita Tanutara Vishika Vitadana Vigatita Vishararu Shararu Tataka Tatake Yajadakirana Shakala Dhara Jatilana Tapati Makutata Natana Patu Vibuda Saridati Atibakula Madugalana Lalita Pada Nalina Raja Upamridita Nijabrijina Jahadupala Tanuruchira Parama Munivara Yuvatinuta Kushikasuta Katita Vidita Navavividakata Maithila Nagara Sulochana Lochana Chakora Chandra Khanda Parashuko Danda Prakandana Khandana Shaunda Bujadanda Chandakara Kirana Mandala Bodhita Pundarika Vanaruchi Luntaka Lochana Mochita Janaka Hridaya Shankatanka Parihrita Nikhila Narapati Varana Janaka Duhitu Kuchatata Viharana Samuchita Karatala Shatakoti Shatakuna Katina Parashudara Munivara Karadhuta Duravanamatama Nijadanura Karshana Prakashita Paramishtia Kratuhara Shikhari Kantuka Vihrutyunmuka Jagadiruntuta Jitahari Danti Danta Danturonta Dashavadana Damana Kushala Dasha Shata Bhujamuka Nrupatikula Rudira Jara Bharita Prututara Tataka Tarpita Pitrika Bhrugupati Sugati Vihatikara Nata Parudishu Pariga. This is Balakandam. Whenever we are trained in our sampradayam, the first challenge that our acharyas will give to us is to learn Raghuvira Gadyam. If you learn Raghuvira Gadyam, this Mangalam Bhagavan Vishnu, Mangalam Garudadvaja, Jai Jagadisha Hare, all that is cakewalk. You can take Mysore Park walk or something. Let's impress Anand Ranganathan for some time. So, Raghuvira Gadyam is a testimony to the bhakti that this land gave. 1,000 years back, one of the greatest philosophers, Ramanujacharya, Shamitodaya Shankaradi Garvaha Swabalat Udhrita Yadava Prakashaha Avaropitavan Shruter Aparthan Nanurama Varajaha Sayesha Bhuyaha, the one who was born in the hamlet of Sri Perumbudur 1,000 years back in 1017 CE. He went to the foothills of Tirumala Tirupati. You know why? To learn the nuances of Ramayanam from the Moolam for 1 year. For 1 year he said, I need to learn the Rahasyams of Ramayanam. His maternal uncle, Matula, who was called Sri Shaila Purna, was performing Kainkaryam atop Tirupati. Imagine that scenario where Tirupati had no devotees. You can't even imagine. Tirupati had nobody coming in, going out. It was infested. It was amidst the forests. There was only one person who was doing Ghataka Inkariyam. They used to carry pots of water from Akasha Ganga and go. So that's how they became Ghatambi, which became Kidambi. Kidambi all belong to the Gotram of Atreya. Atri Maharshi. Atreyas are Kidambis. Not all Atreyas are Kidambis, but all Kidambis are Atreyas. It is like Carnot engine in physics. Now, he went to his maternal uncle, and the maternal uncle said, you come up the hill. I will teach you Ramayana Visesharthams. Ramanuja said, see, the Lord isn't in the hill. The hill is the Lord. I will not climb the hill. The students stayed at the foothills. The Acharya used to come every day, explain Ramayana and go for 1 full year. And learning from that 1 year, he coded 18 rahasyas of Ramayana. Bahyakshepaha, kalartaha, bhavabayam, sadvrittam, acharyavatta, gayatriyartaha, hitamuchitaparam, tattva arthamscha pancha, karpanyam, seshabhavaha, ghatakavidipalam, paratantriyam tatatat, kashthakala pratiksha, vasati padamiti, prahuhu, ashtadasharthan. 18 rahasyas. One rahasya is the first letter of the first verse of every set of 1000 verses in Ramayanam. If you put them together, you get Gayatri Mantra. See, what is the first shlokam? First, verse 1. Tapasvadhyaya niratam. What is the letter? Ta. Then you will have Vishwamitra. Sa vitur. Sa will come. Vi. Tu. Va. Re. Ni. Yam. So from the 24,000 verses, if you take the first letter from the first verse, you will get the entire Gayatri Mantra. That is one rahasyam. That has been coded in the commentary. Ramanuja says this. So beginning from Purananuru, Silappadigaram, Alvars, Nayanmars, Ramanuja, Vedanta Deshika, Kambar, Vagayakaras like Sadashiva Brahmendra, Tyagaraja, Muthuswami Dikshitar. Of course, Shama Shastri was a Sri Vidya Upasaka. He has not sung, but he has sung one Kriti on Varadaraja, a Varnam on Varadaraja, but not on Rama exclusively. Uttukadu Kavi, Papanasam Shivan, Ramanai bhajital noivinai tirume sanchala magandridume Sita. Those of you who have come from places which is beyond Chennai, you will know that during the December, January, it's called the season time here because during the month of Margazhi, it is said spend time in propitiating gods exclusively. So there is music and dance. Trust me, in every concert you will have a Kriti in Tamil, you will have one Abhang in Marathi, you will have one Devarnama in Kannada, you will have 4 or 5 Kritis in Telugu, you will have one bhajan in Hindi, you will have one in Marwari, you will have one in Malayalam. Don't trust the t-shirts here, people who were saying that we don't want to learn the languages. There are people who celebrate languages better. So this is one city. I tell you with full confidence, in a year I give 250 discourse, the Torah of Acharyas across the country.